Most High continue to guide my tongue, and Most High let me speak without error. And so, Brother Wacko and we became real tight. He considers me as his minister. I am a minister, and I do consider myself a brother minister because I'm a brother first. Because before you can minister to someone, you must first make that relationship with them. That's how God has done it with me. And so we had a cool spiritual relationship and exchange. He's telling me about one of the most witchcraft laden places in the country, and the center of the ghetto within it. Uh, Magnolia projects, Calliope project. We've heard about it through record. Well, he was telling me about it, and he was telling me that right there on the project grounds was the school, and I believe he said the church too. He said all your needs could be met right there on the grounds. And keep in mind, I was the one looking at everything with a suspicious eye and a suspicious third eye at that point in time. Anyway, he did, of course, begin to see those things himself as we talked about it, and the Lord revealed it to us both in greater detail. That the government project itself is a experiment in necromancy and causing possession. The goal is to cause possession of particular individuals who are from selected families and bloodlines, who must be approved to be able to receive one of these government housing facilities. Now, along with the information that I got from my brother Wack, I had the opportunity on the humbug to hear a historian, a member of the Detroit public school system, who's been a member for years. He was running down a history, and he was just talking about different historical things in the city, and he was talking about the Smith homes, which happens to be the projects where I'm often at. And he explained that it had once been a military base. Now, people that live there have been saying for some time that they've been hearing through the grapevine it was built on top of a graveyard. Now, ironically, this was information I had come to months before I ever met Wack, and before he ever told me about that being the case with the Magnolia. So now we can do some deductive reasoning here. We can make some hypotheses, some theories. We can discern with our spirit that this is not isolated incidents. We're talking about New Orleans and Detroit. If all of this is true and above board, and that's why this is going to be a series within a series, because I want to bring you to the elder who is the source of much of the information about the history of this particular project here, and who does remember this, and who has said that it is true, that it was indeed built on a grave site. And so there's a lot of extras I want to bring in on this, because some of you live in the projects or know someone who lives in the projects, and if you've ever been to the projects, even people that come from hardcore hoods say the projects is the worst of the worst. Why is the projects worse than the rest of the hood? It has to do with that energy, that negative dead energy, that negative energy, that gangster boogie spirit. Thank you to Brother Blanco for that one. Yes, the boogie is nothing but another word for spirit, and it was brought to my attention through a viewer, my brother Blanco. He let it be known that a gangster boogie is one too, and there is a gangster spirit, and if it's over anywhere, it's over Louisiana, and it's over Detroit, it's over Compton, it's over Chicago, it's over New York. We know this. It's over Atlanta. We know this. It's over Miami. But there are certain places where the projects are most notorious, and where the government assistance is a huge part of people's lives. And when that's so, you create a dependency. Now, we're going to leave socialism and all of its ills to another excerpt of the Occult Ghetto. I want the bottom line to be that you understand the spiritual implications of living on top of what used to be a grave site. You ever seen Poltergeist? Their whole problem in the original Poltergeist movie was caused because they lived on top of an old burial ground. This comes from a real understanding in the occult sciences. When you disturb or disrespect the burial chambers, think about what happened to those who went in and raided King Tut's tomb. When you disturb the burial chambers, there's you tear a fabric in the time-space continuum. You create negative energy in the ether that allows for negative entities to come out. And so you have these negative entities, by and large, possessing the people, the families, the chosen families, because it's chosen families that, by and large, have a lot of children. The original commandment, be fruitful and multiply. So you talk, oh, they have all them babies and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it used to be a time where the more babies you had, the more assistance that you got, and that's wrong as hell. But now we're talking about a government who understands more about you than you do, a government that can read the soles of your footprint and understand things about your bloodline and your family line, a government that wants to keep a perpetual poverty going on among grandma and mama and daughter and then the daughter's daughter. And this is what you see in the projects, not just for poverty's sake, but because of the spiritual implications of doing so. It's a generational curse creator to live in the projects, on the project's grounds that has been cursed. I maintain it when it's not built. You know, the old ones were probably all built on grave sites. Please, my brothers and sisters in New York, L.A., Georgia, wherever this may find you, please help add on to this. This is not something I'm an expert at. This portion is something that the Most High has brought to me in recent years, and I've not still found enough evidence. You know, the paper trail on this is hard to follow. I did your basic research. How did the project start and what president it was under, blah, blah, blah. I got that paper somewhere, but I said to myself, you know, we need to get to the bare bones first. Then the basic questions, well, the government projects were started by such and such a time. And, yeah, it was one of the, I believe it was Romney, George Romney, who was instrumental in the first one. And it's no coincidence that during the riots in 1967, Romney was the governor here in Detroit. And Detroit has been notorious for its projects and its abuse of government assistance. When you hear people talk about the abusing of government assistance that you really saw going on in the late 70s and early 80s when it first came in, they were by and large talking down on Detroit. Look at Good Times. Look at Sanford and Son and Two Girls from Detroit. How wow they acted. Look at Florida's Brother. How ill he acted. There's a spirit, and it's based on a lot of government involvement, because this land, this geographic land here in Michigan, Gan, the enclosed garden of Gan, an original name for the Garden of Eden. But here in Michigan, and my Israelite brothers can break that word down very well. Do your research. But here in this place, Detroit of the Straits, or Detroit, phonetically Detroit of three, we know the way the letters are written, it's supposed to be of the Straits. But it has a trinity energy, a spiritual energy. Why so many churches, liquor stores, and murders? So much music and mayhem. You know, so much ignorance and consciousness. It produces people like yours truly, and it produces all sorts of other types. But there's an energy here that goes back to ancient times. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the last days. And a lot of people are starting to realize who they are based on so-called ancient time. History is cyclical. There really is no time and space. It's all on one plane of existence. So this place is a mirrored image of an ancient place. So is Louisiana. So is Atlanta. Okay? But we're starting to see now manifestations of this, of these ancient energies now manifesting in a new school form. You have the rap music to help solidify the demonic possession that the projects initially pushes out. the way that you're raised is your nurture. Your nature has already been affected by the drugs and the mind control and behavior modification that's put on your parents and their parents. Okay, so there is a bombardment of a demonic energy and blackcraft that goes on, and it is designed primarily toward the urban community. And again, as I say in almost every video, if you think it's about black and white, you've been deceived. When you see that black and white chessboard, the black is a pawn and the white is a pawn too. We're pawns in the game, being controlled by something neither black nor white, which is why so much necromancy and spiritism is being pushed out these days in the so-called days of Aquarius or days of Revelation, the information age. Everybody's getting information. You get here like military formation. We're going to deal with the spelling, I promise y'all. But so don't let yourself get trapped up in the, the pro-black or the pro-white thing. It's anti-Illuminati, and that's what we should be dealing with. I am a follower of Yeshua HaMashiach, and it took for me to be supernaturally brought into that. I wasn't raised that way like a lot of brothers and sisters who were raised in church. I was not raised that way. And as I stated in my documentary, it's odd and ironic because my family lineage is the Moss Clark family. It's the Moss family, and of course, Mattie Moss married a man named Clark. And my mother's maiden name is Moss. I would have been a Moss if not for my father's last name. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm just showing and proving to you that there's a real connection between one's ministry, one's destiny, in ancient times, coming to fruition throughout the bloodline, through the bloodline. So today we're seeing things manifest through the bloodline that are reminiscent of the ancient times. And you're going to see that especially in places like Detroit, that are who's been so villainized and it's been so demonized. Nobody expects anything good to come from here. But what did they say about Jesus? What good thing can come from Nazareth? So this has been part 2 of the government projects. I promise y'all on part 3 I'm going to bring you some more solid things about these government facilities that they call projects, which means experiments. It's an experiment, a behavior modification experiment that they intend to go a certain way. When you have an experiment, you have certain desired results. And I maintain that the way some of us act, the way we've lost our minds, they're getting some of those results. So until next time, this is Unplug 'em, trying to keep it short and sweet and spirit-filled. I love y'all all. Shalom.